go see a movie, but you are a parent and you have young children, you're going to have to make the sacrifice. Maybe you're going to have not sacrifice children. That's not what I'm saying. Don't take that advice. Hello, and thank you for checking out the video. I just want to let you know that I not only create content on my YouTube channel, Class in the Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I review movies, cartoons, and TV shows live, while also playing single-player games and multiplayer games. I also have a Patreon, where subscribers have access to hundreds of video and audio commentaries for films and cartoons, as well as podcasts and videocasts. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the video. I want to go ahead and I want to move on to the next part of my show, and that is my review for Strays, the talking dog movie, the raunchy talking dog movie. And for those that don't know, the general plot, the synopsis of the film, we follow a very gullible Border Terrier named Reggie, who is abandoned by his incredibly selfish and animal-hating owner, who never wanted him to begin with. And he teams up with other stray dogs to survive and seek vengeance, righteous vengeance, against his former cruel owner. Now, before jumping into the review, I do want to just kind of talk about the subgenre that is talking animal movies. It's an interesting subgenre. I don't think it's one that we often think about a lot of the time, but it's one that's been a part of our lives for decades. Since we were children, certainly since I was a kid, chat. Some of the first animated content I was exposed to was talking animal movies and cartoons. In regards to movies, I grew up during some pretty great talking animal films. Everything from The Lion King to The Secret of Nim, and then, more recently, in the last few years, Zootopia. There's been some really great animal talking movies in animated form. And I think that's probably where the subgenre is best used in animated form, because then you can get a little more anthropomorphic. You can give them a little more personality. Now, not to say that there aren't any good live action talking animal movies. There are. There are several that I can instantly name that I honestly think are classics. Certainly Babe.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
And Babe 2, Pig in the City. Babe 2, Pig in the City is underrated, chat. I prefer the first Babe, but Babe 2, Pig in the City is really good. And, Homeward Bound. I love the original Homeward Bound, chat. It made me cry when I was a little kid. Love that movie. And then you certainly have your awful ones. You have your awful ones like, more recently, like Doolittle. With Robert Downey Jr. That movie is one of the worst movies in the last few years. And, of course, there are many other terrible talking animal films. It's a very specific subgenre where the quality between films can honestly give you whiplash. But, there are films within the subgenre that are actually quite good, that I think had a positive impact on viewers. And to this day, have reaffirmed their very positive legacies. Now, in regards to Strays, listen, I'll start off by saying this. One of the things I actually enjoyed about this movie is that it does parody, in a very humorous way, a lot of the structure and storytelling of a talking animal film. Much like in Babe or Homeward Bound, which I just mentioned, you have the narrator with a comforting voice, and it's this sweet, harrowing adventure that the animal of choice goes on. You have the owner of said animal either learning to love the animal again or is missing the animal like dearly. This movie says, fuck all that. literally says that. And it's going to show you a story where the animal desperately needs to leave the owner and possibly even seek brutal vengeance against them. That I thought was actually pretty funny. That's an interesting concept, because so often we're just used to the animal reuniting with its owner, and maybe the owner didn't appreciate the animal enough to a degree, but then they learn to appreciate them, or they always appreciate them, and then they reunite. That's what's been a part of it. And so to see something like this that was different, that kind of flipped on its head, that was cool. That was unique. Also, it handles the idea of escaping a toxic relationship very well. You know, in this case, we see it from the perspective of a dog. And dogs oftentimes, they just love you no matter what you do. You know, they play with that endearing ignorance, you know, well between, you know, Will Ferrell's Reggie, his little dog Reggie, and Will Forte as Doug, his owner. Like, Reggie loves Doug, no matter how cruel and despicable Doug treats him. Also, dog lovers and most sensible people will absolutely despise Will Forte as Doug. He is a dog owner's worst nightmare in this film. And I think you can make an argument that he is one of the most despicable movie villains of the year. Like, everything he does to poor Reggie is awful, and you're just cheering for Reggie throughout the film to just realize what's actually going on. But he just doesn't, because he's like, this is all I've known, and it's magic, and this is going to be the best day ever. That's a go with the movie. This is going to be the best day ever. I'm here with my best friend, my best bud, Doug, and Doug's like, fuck you, Reggie, I hate you. That's what it is. And he doesn't know. He's like, I love when he says, fuck me. Hilarious. That's great. I actually like that part of the movie. That's pretty funny. However, when it comes to the rest of the film, I think it's a mixed bag, you know, to be kind. You know, the movie is, you know, written by American Vandal creator Dan Perrault, I believe that's how you say his name, and it's directed by the Barb and Star Go to the Visa Del Mar director Josh Greenbaum. And so it's like, okay, this movie definitely has some, like, creative people involved. And even though I wasn't fond of the trailers, it's like, well, maybe they're hiding something. Maybe, you know, the cleverness is there, you know, based on just the people behind the camera, the people actually writing the film. Like, there is talent in this movie. And speaking of talent, like, you do have the rest of the cast. Obviously, you have Will Ferrell, who plays Reggie, and you have Jamie Foxx, you have Isla Fisher, and you have Randall Park, who play basically the pack, you know, the main dogs in this movie. You know, and they serve as the main group we follow through the rest of the film. And listen, in terms of their voice performances, I think they all do a good job, and they each get some moments in the film where they're pretty funny. You know, they get some funny things to say. It's just that so much of the humor is thoroughly inconsistent throughout the film. For every funny joke that I chuckled or even laughed at, and I did laugh at, there were like 5 or 6 really bad piss, shit, fart, dick jokes in between. I'm not saying none of these jokes can't be funny. But when that's the only thing you're doing for 5 or even 10 minutes at a time, that starts to get boring. And, you know, I started to get just kind of exasperated at that. It's just too much of one crass thing, of one raunchy thing after the other. And a lot of the movie actually reminded me of Sausage Party from a few years ago, where in that movie, the filmmakers asked, what if food could talk? And it turns out it would just swear and fuck each other constantly.
Look how tight I am.
Oh, sweet fucking fuck. Look,
there's a lot of that DNA here in this film. But it still occasionally has these sweet, wholesome moments that brought me back just a little bit. You know, the thing is, there's just a lot of poop in this movie.
That is one big pile of shit.
That's the problem, chat. There's so much poop. Dialogue about pooping. Jokes about pooping. Literal pooping in the film. After a while, I just found it really gross. It's just like, please, just stop pooping just for a second. You know, comedy is always the most subjective of genres. I've said it many times. And you know what you find funny, I may not find funny. What I find funny, you may not find funny. And there is a lot in this movie that I just did not find funny. There's some stuff I actually liked that I thought, wow, that was actually pretty clever. There's some interesting celebrity cameos in here that I didn't expect that I thought were actually used well. Not every single one, but there were some that's like, okay, I didn't expect that, and that caught me off guard, and I thought that was pretty funny. Like, they do have those moments here in the movie. But it's in between all the cleverness, in between all the endearing moments and wholesome moments, you just have so many scenes of just gross out humor. And I know, I get it. Dogs poop, dogs pee, dogs throw up. I understand this, but they don't do it all the time. And these dogs and the dogs around them and like main dogs, the secondary supporting dogs, and the tertiary dog, that's what so much of them are doing in this movie. And it's like, you don't need too much of this. You know, you actually have like a really good premise and a really good idea here. It's like an in general parody of all those talking animal movies, which we've been just inundated with. I mean, God, for how knows how long, chat. I mean, decades, half a century, if not longer, right? It's common concepts. This is not what we think about. And it's clever to a degree, but most of the time it's like, we don't need to be that clever right now. Let's just throw in some poop. Let's throw in a fart. Let's throw in a piss. Let's throw in a lot of dicks. All right, good old Red Rockets. Let's just do that. And it's like you didn't have to. You really didn't have to. Also, two more things that just come immediately to mind. The lip sync for the dogs and the other animals reminded me of Superman's CGI upper lip in Justice League constantly.
Yes, ma'am.
It was just like every time I was looking at Will Ferrell's Reggie or Jamie Foxx's character of Bug, I was just like, this looks just like Henry Cavill. With that lip just going up and down. I was like, yeah, I don't know if it's the same VFX studio that did it, chat, but I think it is. I think it just literally repurposed Henry Cavill's lip and put it on these goddamn dogs. That's the only thing I was thinking of every time they were talking. Like, the movie has like a budget of, I think it's just south of $50 million. Like, I think it's like 45 or 50 or something like that, which I'm like, I think you could have done a little bit better on the lips, or make them talk, Chad. It's very much, it's like, that doesn't look right. But, whatever. It made me laugh because it reminded me of Henry Cavill as Superman. Also, another point. This is my biggest point I want to make. Do not take your kids to this movie. Okay? I mean, do what you want to do at the end of the day, but this is not a movie for children just because it has talking dogs, okay, or talking animals. I had several families with small children in my audience. So small, in fact, that the children could barely waddle up the steps, chat, because their whittle baby legs struggled because the stairs were too tall for them, chat. And I'm looking at these, giant-headed, waddling children as they're trying to ascend up the theater to sit with their families. And I was saying, like, small child, you do not belong here. You do not need to see Strays. All right? You should be at home watching Babe. You should be at home watching Homeward Bound or animated talking animal films like The Lion King. Your innocent eyes should not be exposed to this yet. Later, when you die a little bit inside, and then you can see it like me. But I could not believe that there were families in this audience. And listen, one of the families straight up left. 20 minutes in, one of the families left the film. And it's just like, well, yeah, of course. And then and I felt really bad. It wasn't the little kid's fault. There was this one little girl who started crying at one point because of something crazy that happened, and the parents had to take her out. They brought her back in, which was like, don't bring her back in. What are you doing? But it's like none of these families or these parents do any research about these movies? Did they not see a trailer? Did they not see a poster? I mean, the poster literally has in the dog's mouth censored. It has rated R. It's a little gag. It says it's rated R. And so I'm like, either it's a number of factors. One, either they just did not know. They've been living under the rock. Two, they don't care, which is disturbing to me. Or three, they're just fucking dumb. and they're like, it's a talking dog. Perfect for my 5-year-old child who can barely walk up the stairs. And yeah, that was kind of weird. You know what? I'm surprised that, the ticket people didn't say you can't take your kid into this. But, they're like, well, parental guardian, whatever, you can go in. But it's like, listen, if you want, and another thing is, if you want to go see a movie, but you are a parent and you have young children, you're gonna have to make the sacrifice. Maybe you're gonna have not sacrifice children. That's not what I'm saying. Don't take that advice. No, I'm saying you're going to have to come up with a better structure in terms of seeing a film. It's like, all right, either you're going to have to get a babysitter and hire them for a couple hours to watch your kid, right? Or you leave them with friends, you leave them with your parents or something. There are ways. Or, it's like one parent has to stay at home and take care of them. The one parent goes to the movie, then you swap out. That's how you do it. Like, there's just more sensible ways to as young parents to go see films. And I don't understand why these parents drag their little kids and expose them to stuff like that. I'm not saying like shame on the filmmakers for doing that. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I didn't even particularly like the movie all that much, but it's like, it's not the filmmaker's fault that you brought your kids in here. It's like, take some goddamn responsibility. So I'm gonna go ahead and step off my soapbox. But it was just so weird. It was so bizarre to me that, and I've seen it for, we've all seen it for decades. I saw it when back in 2008 when I saw Tropic Thunder. Saw, children that were definitely under 10 years old going to see that movie. It's just like, this is not the film for them. What are you doing? What the hell's wrong with you? So it's very, very weird. Very, very weird. But, back to the film itself. For me, a lot of strays didn't always work. But there were several gags that did make me laugh. And again, I appreciated it. It took the time to have these wholesome moments that acted as a reprieve from all of the raunch and all of the crassness and all of the poop. But at the end of the day, it's not a movie for me. Comedy is very subjective. What I may not like, you may actually like. But that's what I thought of Strays. Curious to hear what all you guys have to say about it and think about it. Let me know. I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I want to take the time to tell you about my Patreon, Class in the Glass, which offers hundreds of film commentaries and video reactions to numerous movies, TV shows, and cartoons. If you're a fan of shows like Batman the Animated Series and Avatar: The Last Airbender, or films like Aliens and Raiders of the Lost Ark, my Patreon is the platform for you. Currently, I'm doing a subathon to reach 75 subs on the platform. If we hit 75 subs, we'll be able to start voting on the next edited YouTube reaction, which will include actual clips and scenes from the movies and shows I comment over. Choose from such films as Fire and Ice, Masters of the Universe, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, or Spawn. Subscribing at any tier level is appreciated, and feel free to give feedback at any time. Thank you again for watching the video, and see you next time.